Hello again, it's Matt back with the Arturia MicroFreak. We're going to take a look at the digital oscillator now, which is the sound generating heart of this synth. You get 12 different models. Here you've got these four controls, type, and this control here, type, takes you through those models. I'll quickly just mention what they are. There's basic waves, super waves, wavetable, harmonics, car plus strong, virtual analog, wave shaper, two operator frequency modulation, formant, chords, speech, and modal. And each one of those is a completely different sound generation system. They might be thinking, whoa, hang on, I haven't got the lifetimes for that. Well, who has? Who has indeed? It's a very, very good point. We should be outside ferreting around in the dusk, playing with leaves and eating crisps, but we're not. We're doing this. So as we are doing this, let's engage with these 12 different models, because in there is an awful lot of sound flexibility. To keep it sane, we've only got 3 parameter controls. That's the get out of jail free card. We're not sitting here to learn every synthesis method ever invented in the history of synthesis. No. We're just learning it enough to get these 3 little controls to give us quite a bit of flexibility in this here synth. So we'll run through the models and what the 3 controls do for each one, because they alter, of course, depending on the model you're using. So first of all, basic waves. Let's start by modulating the wave control here. In this case, it's morphing from the square wave into a sawtooth. Any point in between the two, of course, you get a sort of saw square thing. You can carry on through. Okay, so the wave control in this case is basically just morphing between a number of simple, what we'd consider to be, analog waves typically. Obviously in this case, they're digital. So then we've got timbre. So let's get the wave on something interesting. Okay, and then for timbre, well, it's behaving as a pulse width modulation. Here we've got a very thin pulse width there. And that applies regardless of what kind of wave shape we're using. It's not just a square wave thing as you're used to, where obviously that we know, but this, let's try. Is a sort of pulse width modulation on a sawtooth. Okay, and last of all we have shape, and what shape is doing is bringing in a sub-oscillator. That's just a level control for that sub. So that's basic waves. Looking at the next model, we have super wave. Oh, it is super. And this is that kind of super saw thing that you get on, I think the JP8000, was it the first thing that brought it in? Well, certainly, in a popular way. But yeah, now quite a common idea. Basically, it's a bunch of sort of detuned waves creating this constantly moving sound. So let's see what we've got. We've got wave saw, which is the most common sound for this one, I guess. We've got a detune, which is how detuned the waves are. So, and last of all, we've got volume of the detuned waves. So we can have triangles, squares, sawtooths, and sine. And with sine, it's quite a subtle effect. You can hear it's just creating that strange pulsing, which I really like as it happens. It's quite an intense setting to make the sine wave actually really start to kind of noticeably actually get that detune. There you go. With other waves, you'll find that setting is really quite strong. There you go, it's a very pronounced super triangle. So yes, using that one in the paraphonic mode, you've got a limited polyphony string synth, really. which is gorgeous. We like that all day long. We do, we do. So let's move on to the next model. Wavetable. Wavetables, first introduced back in the 1980s, a thing called the PPG wave. The clue is in the name. The best way to think about a wavetable, if you've not encountered the idea before, we're all kind of used to the idea that on simple synthesizers we can pull up a sine wave, a triangle, a sawtooth, and it's a fixed waveform. It doesn't do anything. It sits there being a sawtooth. So let's say that's a photo, yeah? Now think about the concept of a strip of film, like a cinema film reel, where you've got 25 pictures a second shooting past the gate. That's what a wavetable is. It's a bunch of different waveforms, one on each frame of that film, and you can whiz that waveframe underneath the gate, as it were, the part of the camera, as it were. It's getting a bit of an extended metaphor here. Stay with me. So the gate is showing us whichever frame is currently being lit up. So if you whizzed that piece of film backwards and forwards, then of course it would keep changing the picture. And similarly with a wavetable, it's the same idea. If you put a bunch of waveforms and sort of, as it were, next to each other, and then modulate through that strip of waveforms, then you get these constantly changing waves. Now if you make the adjacent waves quite similar, then you get a kind of naturally evolving sound. If you make them quite dissimilar, then you can get very harsh, spiky, edged changes as you modulate through the wavetable. So I hope that makes some sense. I will actually make some wavetable noises now, and hopefully you'll go, ah, yes, I hear what you described so colourfully. So there we go. First thing is we've got 16 tables. Each one of them is a separate film strip, as it were, to use my analogy, okay? Now we're just hearing the first picture in the strip, the first wave. So let's start with table 1, and actually then, using the timbre control, we can move through the film strip, as it were, the waves. Okay, and the third control is simply a chorus. So if you want a bit of Juno-style chorus, great. So each wavetable has its own character. Let's go to table 4. You can hear I was saying about those very abrupt changes. So for the first sort of few movements, it's quite gentle, and suddenly it just changes to that very abrasive sound. I'll run it again. Here, there, getting very... So you can hear there that each wavetable has a very different set of sounds, and obviously by choosing the ones that are more fluid from wave to wave, you'll get smoother sounds, these spikier ones less so. Let's try... It's an interesting sort of series of harmonics on that one. So you hear that one's quite a simple related sound all the way across the entire range. That was again a sort of soft harmonic series. So that's it really. The wavetables are very straightforward. You pick your strip of film, as it were, your wavetable sequence, then you pick whereabouts you want to pick in that sequence of waves, what you want to listen to. You can obviously modulate it, have it sweeping around while you're playing, move by envelopes, LFOs, whatever. And as a bonus, because we've got a spare knob going here, we've got a chorus. That's wavetables. What's next? What's next is harmonic. Okay. Harmonic synthesis is kind of an additive synthesis here. Ordinarily we start with harmonically rich things like sawtooths and square waves, and then we reduce them down with filters, either low pass, high pass, band pass, and reduce their frequency content. Harmonic starts at the other end. You start with sine waves, arrayed either in series or on their own or whatever, and you control the volume of those sine waves. Now, full additive synthesis is a really complex thing to implement. It's complex to control, it's complex to visualize. So the MicroFreak has quite a simple idea. If we look at the frequency analyzer over here. Okay, so currently we're on by using the wave setting here, we're on content of 0, so it's a very simple sine wave. And as I bring content up, you'll see more harmonics appear. And actually what's happening is the original harmonic is getting quieter. So we end up with just the high frequency harmonics of that original frequency. Okay, so that's the wave control, which is deciding where the sort of center of our sound's frequency domain is. As well as that, we've got sculpting, which brings up the harmonics above it to higher levels without affecting the source harmonic. So if I change content now and keep sculpting quite high, you'll see there's lots of high-end content, more than there was before. So essentially we're choosing our center frequency with content, we're choosing our high-end bias with sculpting, and then again we have chorus. So that's the harmonic oscillator. Okay, and the next is the Karplus Strong. Karplus Strong is the name of an acoustic model for plucked and bowed string sounds. It's here so that we can make plucked and bowed string sounds. Yes! Right, so first thing we have is a control of bow. So if I bring this right down to 0, let's start here. Then we get no bowing, and we get a pluck. There's a sort of twang, isn't it, at the start of the sound. And if I move more towards bow, we get a pluck with a sustaining bow. And the further I go, less pluck we're getting, and now we're starting to get a bow attack. Okay, so simply that one controls whether you want a pluck twang sound and some bow sustain, or if you just want a twang, or no twang and just bow. Okay, apart from that, position. As you can hear, position controls the harmonic sound of the attack of the sound. And lastly, we have decay for how long that twang element lasts. So let's go back down to non-bow. Can I make it really long? Or very short? Quite a muted pluck. Reminiscent of oscillator sync, but it's a very different approach to making sound. Okay, so that's Karplus Strong. And next we have the virtual analog model. This is an interesting one. We have a combination of two different waves. One is controlled from the timbre, one from the shape. Okay, and you have a detune between these two waves. The timbre wave is a square, which I can control the pulse width of, and the shape wave is a triangle through to saw. Now the two are always playing together, but what's interesting is we can detune them. A little way for that sort of classic analog detuned fatness, but we can go further. And get that one note chord effect. And because there's two oscillators that we're detuning on a single note, with the paraphonic 4-note polyphony, you're getting 8 different pitches there at once. Quite complex. So that's the virtual analog. Join me again in a second and we'll look at the next 6 models.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.